Have you ever wondered how the threat of terrorism became so prevalent in our world today? The rise of Islamic radical groups, a phenomenon we are all too familiar with, didn't just occur in a vacuum. It's a complex web of historical context, socio-economic challenges, and manipulation of religious ideologies. Political instability has often served as a breeding ground for these groups. In regions where governance is weak or non-existent, radical ideologies have found fertile ground. The power vacuum left by crumbling regimes or ongoing civil wars has often been filled by these groups, who promise order amidst chaos, even if it's through an iron fist. Socio-economic challenges have also played a significant role. Areas with high unemployment rates, poverty, and a lack of access to quality education are ripe for recruitment. Radical groups are able to exploit these hardships, offering a sense of belonging and purpose to those who feel marginalized and forgotten. Religion, too, has been manipulated as a tool for recruitment. It's important to remember that these radical groups represent a distorted version of Islam, far removed from its teachings of peace and respect for all life. They twist religious texts to suit their extremist ideologies, using them as a shield to justify their violent actions. Over the years, key groups have emerged, each with their own unique characteristics and modus operandi. From Al-Qaeda to ISIS, these groups have left a trail of destruction in their wake, impacting countless lives and reshaping the geopolitical landscape. One such example is Jemaah Islamiyah, a jihadist network with ties to Al-Qaeda. Its spiritual leader, Indonesian Islamic cleric Abu Bakar Bashir, was released from prison after serving 10 years. Despite never being convicted of direct involvement in the 2002 Bali bombings, his influence in extremist circles remains a cause for concern. As we can see, the emergence of these groups didn't happen overnight, but rather is the result of complex factors interplaying over time. This understanding is crucial as we seek to address and hopefully curb the threat of terrorism in our world today. Now that we understand the roots of this issue, what are the current impacts of terrorism on our world? Terrorism, with its epicenter in Islamic radicalism, casts an ominous pall over the globe, threatening security and stability across multiple regions. This threat manifests through extremist violence, often in the form of suicide attacks and kidnappings, leading to the tragic loss of countless human lives and destruction on a massive scale. One of the most sinister aspects of terrorism is religious persecution. The radicals focus their ire on religious minorities such as Christians, Hindus, Buddhists, and others. These communities become the victims of discrimination and violence, living in a perpetual state of fear and insecurity. Adding fuel to the fire is the suppression of women's rights. These radical groups propagate ideologies that severely curtail women's rights, denying them access to education and employment, thereby perpetuating a cycle of inequality and oppression. The tentacles of terrorism also reach the political arena, leading to destabilization in nations and regions. This instability hampers development and governance, exacerbating the plight of those already living on the edge. A particularly insidious aspect of terrorism is the radicalization of youth. Impressionable young minds fall prey to the propaganda and extremist ideologies disseminated by these groups. They are manipulated into becoming foot soldiers in a conflict that spans the globe. The recruitment of foreign fighters by these radical groups poses an imminent threat to global security. Individuals are lured into participating in conflicts in volatile regions, further escalating the chaos and instability. The ripple effects of terrorism are far-reaching, touching on all aspects of society from personal lives to global politics. The impacts are not confined to the physical realm, but also extend to the cultural domain, with the destruction of cultural and historical sites, causing irreparable losses to our shared global heritage. In addition to the human cost, another casualty of terrorism that often goes overlooked is our shared cultural heritage. When we speak of cultural heritage, we're referring to those tangible and intangible symbols of our collective past, the monuments, artifacts, and traditions that tell the story of who we are as a people and how we got here. Radical groups have, on numerous occasions, targeted these cultural and historical sites, ruthlessly eradicating traces of civilizations that once flourished. From the ancient ruins of Palmyra in Syria to the storied mausoleums of Timbuktu in Mali, These groups have left a trail of destruction, obliterating precious pieces of our shared history. Each act of destruction signifies an irreparable loss, a chapter of our shared narrative forever silenced. These sites and artifacts are not just stone and metal, they're the physical embodiment of our collective memory, of thousands of years of human ingenuity, imagination, and endeavor. They help us understand our past, and in doing so guide us towards our future. But why do these groups target cultural heritage? Some argue it's to erase the past, to rewrite history in their image. Others suggest it's an act of psychological warfare, a way to demoralize and disorientate communities. Whatever the reason, the result is the same: a world less rich, less diverse, and less connected to its past. The destruction of these sites is not just a loss of history, but a blow to the very fabric of our shared human experience. It's a stark reminder that the threat of terrorism is not just physical, but existential. It challenges our capacity to preserve our shared history, to pass on the story of us from one generation to the next. In the digital age, the internet has become a tool for radical groups to spread their ideologies and recruit new members. This has been particularly evident with Islamic radical groups who have exploited the vast reach and relative anonymity of the internet to disseminate their extremist content. Throughout the World Wide Web, in the hidden corners of chat rooms, social media and online forums, these groups sow seeds of radicalization. They share propaganda, exploit grievances, and manipulate narratives to attract susceptible individuals. This online radicalization process is often subtle, with targeted individuals gradually exposed to extremist ideologies over time. An increasingly prevalent issue is the use of encrypted platforms, which provide a safe haven for these activities to take place beyond the reach of authorities. These digital spaces allow extremists to communicate, plan attacks, and even conduct virtual training sessions with little fear of detection or disruption. Moreover, the internet enables these groups to transcend geographical boundaries, reaching out to individuals worldwide. This international recruitment exacerbates the threat to global security, as individuals from different countries are lured into becoming foreign fighters in conflict zones. The internet's role in terrorism presents a significant challenge for counter-terrorism efforts. Traditional methods of surveillance and intervention are less effective in the faceless, borderless realm of the internet. The nature of online radicalization requires a more nuanced approach, involving not just law enforcement, but also technology companies, community leaders, and mental health professionals. Yet, it's not all doom and gloom. The internet, while a tool for radicalization, can also be a tool for counter-radicalization. Online platforms can be used to spread messages of peace, tolerance, and unity, countering the narratives of hate and division. As the internet becomes more pervasive, the spread of extremist ideologies online becomes an increasingly pressing issue. It's a complex problem that calls for a comprehensive, multifaceted solution, one that combines law enforcement, technology, and community engagement in a concerted effort to combat online radicalization. The actions of a radical few can have wide-ranging impacts on entire communities. This phrase rings particularly true for Muslim communities worldwide, who often find themselves stigmatized and marginalized due to the actions of Islamic radicals. This stigmatization is a cause for concern, as it disrupts social harmony and fuels a cycle of misunderstanding and mistrust. Muslims, like any other community, are diverse, with a wide range of beliefs, practices, and cultures. The actions of a minority of radicals should not overshadow the peaceful existence and contributions of the majority. However, the threat posed by Islamic radical groups often leads to an unfair generalization, associating all Muslims with extremism. This stigma not only affects social interactions, but also policy decisions, impacting immigration laws, surveillance measures, and even employment opportunities. The ripple effect of this stigmatization can lead to alienation, further hindering efforts at social cohesion and mutual understanding. In this context, it becomes crucial to differentiate between the peaceful majority and the radical few, to foster an environment of tolerance and acceptance. The actions of a few should not define a whole community, and it is important to remember this as we navigate these complex issues. Understanding the threat of terrorism and its impacts is the first step in combating it. It's not enough to merely acknowledge its existence. We must delve deeper, seeking to comprehend the intricate dynamics that fuel such atrocities. This is a call to action. It's time to arm ourselves with knowledge, the most potent weapon against fear and prejudice. We must strive to learn more about the socio-political climates that breed extremism, the ideologies that motivate these groups, and the strategies they employ. Let's not forget the power of dialogue and education in dismantling stereotypes and misconceptions. Share this knowledge with others, spark discussions, and challenge the narratives that these radical groups wish to propagate. It's also crucial to remember that the actions of a few do not define the beliefs of many. We must resist the urge to stigmatize entire communities based on the actions of a radical few. Remember, knowledge is power, and by educating ourselves and others, we can all play a part in making our world a safer place.